Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of fantasy romance and romantic fantasy. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Mm. Oh, that's so good. Today is Tuesday, March 15th. If you're on video, you will see that I actually have a latte. If you're on audio only, you probably heard how much happy I have. That made no sense. How happy I am to have my latte. I'm doing things slightly out of bounds today because I am in my health marathon. Um, Finally, getting all of these things handled like a responsible adult. I usually don't go in for the adulting thing, but this feels very much adulting. So I get to have a colonoscopy tomorrow afternoon. A girl never forgets her first colonoscopy. Um, yeah, it's I don't know if it's even a funny story, but I feel like it's a funny story. I may tell you guys this story. It's not writing related, but the short, the TL didn't listen, is that I um, have to do the fasting for the colonoscopy. These rituals of getting older, it's just one of those, you're supposed to do it when you hit a certain age. And so I can't eat anything solid after 10 a.m. today. And my appointment's not till 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So I figured I better go ahead and have my breakfast. If I were doing my 16/8 fasting thing, I wouldn't get to eat till like noon. So I figured, well, less solid food for more than 24 hours, I'll take advantage. So I figured that means I get to have my latte. Small reward. Making sure I didn't smear my lip pencil there. So I'll tell you guys this story because I think it's funny. So I'm seeing this new general practitioner. He had ordered, all these things. I had to do mammogram, bone density, colonoscopy, joy, joy. And they'd said, the physician's assistant, when she gave me, in New Mexico, we get doctor's orders. You have to have like an order from a GP to go see a specialist. Maybe they do that everywhere. We did not have to do it in Wyoming. So it was a real adjustment when we came here. That was like, you have to have a doctor's order to do anything. So when she handed me the order, she had said, I guess they're not very good about getting back to people. So just keep calling. I was like, oh, okay. So I call, get their voicemail, and I'm, ready to leave a message. And their voicemail is incredibly long, and they say, leave a message with your, referring physician and your name and your date of birth and the reason for the procedure. It's like gastroenterology associates. And they said, do not leave more than one voicemail. Only leave one voicemail and we will call you back in within 5 business days. I was like, wow, 5 business days. Okay. So I leave the message with all of the information as instructed and mark it on my calendar for like 5 business days later. And I even went business days, took out the weekend and any relevant holidays to tag back. Reader, they did not call me back. So I even gave them a couple extra days, I think, because I didn't feel like calling. You know how that is, right? And it's like, oh, I can't make phone calls today. So then I called them back and I get the same message. So I say, I left a previous message. No, I'm not supposed to, but nobody called me back in the 5 business days. And I noticed they also had something on there when they said, or you can stop by our offices at. Reader, they did not call me back. So I was like, okay, yesterday afternoon, I had to go in for my physical, and I thought, since I'm going to be in that kind of general neighborhood, it's not a big town. I live outside of town, but it's still only like 15, 20 minutes. But, I treat it like I'm going on an Arctic expedition once a year. Quail are out there this morning. So I go to the doctor, and actually everything's great. My blood work is great. Everything is wonderful. Much, much physician love, which surprised me because I thought I don't know. That's actually another story. I'll have to decide if I'm going to tell you guys that. So he says, any trouble with any of the other tests? And I said, well, the gastroenterology people, I left them a couple of voicemails and they've never gotten back to me. And he's kind of a serious, gentle guy. And I could see behind him the I don't know the aide. I'm not sure. I don't know if she was a PA or what, but she was very sweet. But she was in there because I had to have a pelvic exam and pap and stuff. So she was like, "I'll be your chaperone today." But so I could see her behind him when she kind of closes her eyes and shakes her head a little bit, and I just know that this is a thing, right? They're just never calling anybody back ever. And he's like, "Oh, yeah." He says, "They've had trouble since the pandemic." And I'm thinking, this is not pandemic. This is like something else. And he says, "But you can stop by in person." And I said, actually, that's what I was planning to do today. I had my order in the car and I'm just going to stop by there. So I do. I stop by there and step in the door, and there's a sort of a receptionist, and there's one gal talking to the receptionist, and she says, "Hi, ma'am, do you have an appointment?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Are you here to schedule an appointment?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Okay, sit here behind the divider." And, so like our mask mandate is lifted. This place acts like we are, you know, major height of pandemic thing. They still have the dividers up. They have the caution tape across the every other chair. It's not that I'm against it, but it's sort of like everybody, every other place has opened up a lot more, like the doctor's office I was just in doesn't have the social distancing on the chairs anymore. There's a little screening machine that you have to like verify that you don't have COVID and haven't been around anyone who had COVID. And you put a sticker, verifying that you're a visitor for the day. But, you know, and they have some of the dividers, but this place is like crazy, right? So, so I go and sit behind the divider in my chair next to the caution tape chair. And this place is like a tomb, you guys. It's empty. and and they have big signs like on the outside too saying procedures are not done here. And I'm like, what do they do in this office? So the receptionist, this other gal comes out, and she said, "Do you need to schedule an appointment?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "I can help you with that." So she takes me back. So we sort of went through this cubicle farm, which is empty. She's sitting at her desk, and there's a gal at another desk. And I can't, there's not phones ringing because clearly it's all going straight to voicemail, you guys. Uh, I don't know what anybody in this office is doing, right? I mean, this might be a cream puff job. If you need a job in Santa Fe where you don't actually have to do any work, this is the job. So, so she like gets in the computer and she gets my information, and she said, "How soon do you want to do this procedure?" And part of their voicemail message has this whole thing about, if this is an emergency procedure ordered by your doctor, have your doctor call directly and all this kind of thing. And I said, "Well, whenever, I don't really care." And she said, "We could get you in this week. I have openings on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday afternoons." This is when I stare into the camera. They have openings Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday afternoons. I was like, "Okay." And she offers me like 6 different times, 6 different openings. Now, it's occurred to me now that I've read the instructions, and it's like no eating after 10 a.m. today for my 3 p.m. appointment tomorrow. I can have clear liquids, broths, that sort of thing. nothing purple or blue. And and you have to do the purging and all of that. I was like, well, I'm sure most people don't want to do those appointments in the afternoon because, people want to do it in the morning so they can eat. But still, I mean, it's not like they're so slam jam packed that they can't be scheduling people, right? When David had his uh, difficulties, stomach stuff before Christmas, they had suggested that we also go to the gastroenterology people. So I kind of left out that bit of backstory that I had heard this voicemail once before, and they had never called back. And David decided he didn't need it. So, we didn't pursue. But so I was like, well, let's do it Wednesday afternoon because this is a much more relaxed week for me. Might as well get it done with. I just, I just can't even. So, you guys aren't here to hear about my um, antics with the medical establishment. Um, yeah, so yesterday I did get my 2,000 words. It felt really good to only go for 2,000 words. It felt incredibly relaxed. I did have it in my head that I needed to get to this doctor's appointment in the afternoon, which is a really funny thing. And I've talked to a lot of people about this who have, we're very lucky and blessed and privileged to have these kind of unscheduled lives where we work from home, where we work for ourselves, where we don't have a really structured schedule. And some people do fine with a really structured schedule. Other people do not. I think that's part of knowing what your process is and owning it. I, I think you have to know what kind of worker you are. Some people simply do not self-direct, and it's not a negative. I mean, I think it's so tempting to think of this stuff as a negative, but it's just what it is. It's like if you have brown hair, or maybe you can learn to color your hair, but maybe you just have brown hair. Maybe your hair is so dark that it doesn't bleach out. uh, when I got my mammogram, back to medical stuff, the Hispanic gal, or the nurse was an Hispanic gal, and she really liked my hair color. And she said, I don't want to be offensive, but can I ask if it's natural? And I said, oh no, honey. My stylist thanks you. And she said, my hair doesn't bleach out light enough for me to get that color. And it's hard when you have that really, really naturally dark hair. Although it's, I colored my hair black for a long time, and I really wanted that glossy, rich black like the Hispanic ladies have. But sometimes you just have to take the cards you're dealt. You have to take what you're born with, and you learn to work around it. Uh, I spent a long time in my day job being kind of middle management for a team of people who worked across the country, all working out of their homes. I've been working out of my home for a long time, even when I had the day job. I started in an office, and then they closed that office and moved me home. And one of the great take home lessons of this was that some people do great working from home, and other people do not. There was this one guy who had been in the military. He'd been in a couple of branches in the military, very sharp, um, really a great dynamic worker in many ways, except that he could not deal with working from home. He would slack off. And we found out much later, like, he would log on to our company chat, and then so it would appear he was there, and then he would go take a nap. And then he would come, and if you messaged him and he didn't answer, he'd come back and he'd say, oh, wasn't looking at the chat. I didn't have, had my head down in this document. He got shit done working from home. He was great when he was with a group of people. he could not make him sit down and work. I found out later that he was like going out and having long lunches with people. He was just like fucking around all day. But that was his kind of personality. He did really well in a more military situation, which is incredibly structured, where someone is telling you what to do all the time. And there are many, many people like this who, if you want to, if you do better in an office environment, a lot of people prefer going to an office and being there, and now we're all working. I think some of it has to do with, like how gregarious of a person you are. If you're an extrovert versus an introvert, I think one of the reason that so many writers and other creatives are introverts is because we don't need to be around people. If you want to be particularly a writer, I think, but probably other kinds of creatives too, you spend a lot of time by yourself in your own head. And introverts are happy with that. Extroverts are miserable. But you can also be an introvert and still need structure. So if you are finding that, and this is something that lots of writers talk about, even if they have the time to write, uh, somehow they just never quite do. There's always something else. There's a lot of procrastinating, dreading procrastination. Uh, there's there's just a difficulty in creating that structure. So if you're struggling with that, and I know many, many people who do, then you have to find a way to create that structure. You might need somebody else to tell you to do it. That's one reason why Dorinda and I meet on Zoom and work together, because she really needs that. I have to meet Jeffy at 9 o'clock. And so I can't screw around. I have to get there and I need to be there and be ready to work. It's just something she knows about herself and she's willing to admit about herself. So, again, it's not a good, bad thing. It's knowing which things in yourself um, are not optimal for producing what you want to produce and finding ways to correct for that. So, um, so yeah, it did make a difference for me. Oh, that's where I started on all this, was that one thing that we've noticed for those of us who have these kind of unstructured lives where we don't have fixed schedules is if we have something in the afternoon. And these days, I almost always have some kind of appointment in the afternoon, usually an online meeting, but leaving the house is worse. That it creates a sense of pressure. It creates this deadline. I need to get my stuff done by then, even if I'm normally done by then. Because I always tell people I'm available after like 2 o'clock Mountain Time, which gives me plenty of room to get things done theoretically. But I'm also fighting with the clock right now because of daylight savings time. So I'm a little better today. It's just 8:53 right now, so I'm working it backwards. So hopefully I'll get a little bit earlier. But yeah, yesterday Dorinda and I didn't start writing until like 9:45, which is late-ish. But I did get the 2,000 words. It felt good. It felt more relaxed. I'm going to do that this whole week and then reevaluate. So we shall see. So, on that note, I am going to get this uploaded and get to work. I hope you all have a fabulous Tuesday, and I will talk to you all on Thursday. You all take care. Bye bye.